and welcome to another Eureka Blu-ray review roundup video where I'll be talking about a few new releases from Eureka, specifically the April 2024 release slate, which is pretty stellar, I have to say. From what I've seen so far, it's a pretty great month for Eureka releases. But before we get to the April releases and the very interesting kind of array of different films that it encompasses, I wanted to briefly touch on this one because honestly, I've been down with a sickness for quite a while, and I'm still feeling it now. You'll probably hear the nasally tone of my voice. But I'm going to give this a full review. I mentioned it and showed it in the previous Eureka Blu-ray review roundup video. But it is Slaughter in San Francisco, and I'm going to do a full in-depth review on this one. I've gone through all the extras, and I had an absolute blast with that. But now that I've seen it, I wanted to give it a quick mention because I'm trying to focus on my reviews of April's Blu-rays, and there's a lot to cover with that too, and there's a lot of stuff to get in depth on. This will be coming though, but I wanted to mention that now I've seen it, I can give you a little bit more of my thoughts on the film. So this was a Lowe directed film that was actually supposed to be a Bruce Lee feature, which you can kind of tell once you watch the film, given how the lead actor, who his name seems to be different. I mean, on the back here he's so Wang Dao, but I think Wang is also. I feel like I get different names for the same people a lot on these Blu-rays in terms of like the people who talk about them in the extras and the commentary, written in the booklet and all that kind of stuff. But Wang Dao, he very much is reminiscent of Bruce Lee, and you can really feel this film being a Bruce Lee film in terms of the storyline. It has echoes of other Bruce Lee films, and they talk about that in the special features and stuff, obviously. But a fascinating kind of a what if almost, and it's borderline a Bruceploitation film in that sort of arena, I guess, not fully, but you can see the stylings of it. And he plays this cop who is on a revenge mission, and or a former cop actually. He loses his position at the beginning of the film through a very dramatic sequence of events, and then he has to really take the law into his own hands. And Chuck Norris plays the big bad, which is one of the only times he ever played a bad guy in his career, and he actually fought to have this film barred from being released unsuccessfully on multiple occasions. I mean, he is a very despicable character in this, Chuck Norris. So I can kind of see why, given his more clean-cut kind of, good old American, upstanding values kind of persona that he would kind of go on to make a name for himself with, and be that kind of the all American hero. I can kind of see why maybe he'd be a bit reticent about that. Whereas with Way of the Dragon, I mean, that's he very much comes in to fight Bruce Lee, but in this film he has a much bigger presence and is very much a dastardly figure. But I really enjoyed this film. I loved all of the stuff on location in San Francisco. They shot most of it in a different place, but nearby city. But I really enjoyed the film, actually. I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. Even the fight sequences I thought were really cool. And there's a lot to dig into with the extras and stuff, so I'm really looking forward to giving this one a full review very, very soon. So let's just get into the April Blu-rays, which again will all be getting extensive in-depth reviews at a later date, hopefully very soon. This feels okay now. This was kind of like a tester video for me in terms of like, can I do a video with having recovered from the kind of sickness, and I'm still feeling it, but I can talk. This feels okay for now, so fingers crossed I can now kind of get into filming more of those in-depth kind of 30-minute kind of deep dives on all these releases and kind of get back to cranking out those. So for April 2024, we have a classic silent horror film, we have a 90s Hong Kong action film, and then we have I actually don't even know what to classify the last one as. I guess it is kind of a Hong Kong film, more of an American film. We'll get to it, but it's a 4K release, which I'm very excited to talk about. But first and foremost, we have another Masters of Cinema release. This is spine number 284, and it's Paul Laney's The Cat and the Canary from 1927. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big fan of silent cinema, so to get another MOC release from the silent era was just really exciting for me going into it. I'd seen a Paul Laney film before, which is The Last Warning, also in the MOC collection, but this one I had not seen. I don't think I'd even heard of it, to be fair. And this is very much in the old dark house kind of tradition, and there's a really good feature on this that goes into like the old dark house subgenre and how this film is cited as like the first one on film, but it really isn't, and that it goes way back. And I tend to say that is, it's, you look at something in an old film, you think, wow, that's like the first tracking shot, or that's the first Steadicam shot. But you say these things, and there's probably one that happened 10 years before that, especially with the innovations that took place in the silent era. And what really struck me about this film, I really enjoyed it. I recently watched The Old Dark House, the James Whale film, which I absolutely fucking love. What an amazing horror film, probably one of my all-time favorite horror films now. So this one kind of stacked up, not unfavorably to it, but it wasn't as good as The Old Dark House. But at the same time, I mean, this came out a few years earlier, but still being in the last death grip of the silent era, this film just blew me away in terms of how it didn't feel modern, but the way the camera moves in this is really, even for like a film like The Old Dark House by James Whale, the camera moves in this are so sophisticated, and just to see like the camera moving this much in silent film is almost disorientating. And I've seen so many silent films, and I've seen so many, examples of, wow, they were doing that back in 1920 or whatever, in terms of like, multiple exposure effects and, sets and, special effects and optical effects. But just the way the camera moves in this, like there's a POV shot wandering around this spooky house, and it's just like, wow, this is really interesting. And again, I'll get into it once I get into my full review, but this is an absolutely incredible release. There's two great audio commentaries on there. I really love the pairing, the double pairing, I suppose, we have with Kim Newman and Stephen Jones, and then the other audio commentaries with Kevin Lyons and Jonathan Rigby. I love Jonathan Rigby's voice. I could truly listen to him read the phone book and be entertained by it. But they both bring different things to the commentary, and there's also like different pieces of information. And again, I look forward to diving into that more. And I'm sorry if it feels like I keep saying that, but I'm trying to just kind of round these up and kind of give you my brief thoughts. And maybe some of you only are interested in the brief thoughts. They don't want the deep dive, and that's fine. But the commentaries are excellent. The video pieces on here are great too, and there's some cool kind of little bits of like the original stage play this was based on. There's some kind of some little kind of bonus things there, which are kind of really cool. And so in terms of the whole Blu-ray package, I was really impressed. That the transfer is excellent. I think it's it's a 4K digital restoration of the original negatives. So it's, easily the best the film has ever looked. But again, I love seeing these films in all their glorious detail and in high definition. But it was really the camera movements I really loved. And I don't know, the suspense was really good. And there's a lot of comedy in it, to be fair, as well. But I really enjoyed the kind of the way that Laney was playing with the depth of the image. Things happening behind characters, not out of frame, but like out of focus, and building up the suspense and the tension. I thought was really well done in this film. And so I look forward to seeing more Paul Laney stuff. I haven't got around to The Man Who Laughs yet, or Waxworks, which are also in the collection. So I'm feeling the itch to go and check those films out now. But a great cast, I really enjoyed the performances in this. It was just a good time, a really good time, and some great extras. And again, I look forward to really diving in deep on that one and giving my fuller thoughts. The next one is a film I was intrigued by when I kind of heard that it was a superhero Hong Kong action film. And I'm just looking on the back here, rated 18 for strong, bloody violence. And I would agree with that assessment. This is a brutal movie. This is Black Mask, starring Jet Li, directed by Daniel Lee. And I've been getting into Jet Li stuff through these Eureka releases. I forget what the one was called last year. I think it's just called Heroes and Villains, 3 films starring Jet Li, which was My Father is a Hero, Dr. Y and the Scripture with No Words, and Hitman. I loved those films so much. And then there was another Jet Li film. What was the other Jet Li film? There was something else. Kung Fu Cult Master. I really enjoyed that one. I've got a review up for that on the channel. So I was kind of keen to see this one, but I wasn't sure that being superhero slanted, whether it was gonna, it was gonna, I don't know, maybe clash with my expectations of what a Hong Kong action film is and what a superhero movie is, and whether the two things would blend, whether they would complement each other. And it doesn't feel like a superhero movie in that sense. It feels like a vigilante movie, but it is a superhero film, and it is based on a comic book as well, which they go into the audio commentaries, more specifically Frank Zhang's audio commentary, where he really goes into the origins of the comic book, Black Mask, and also the artist who created the Black Mask comic book in his career. So there's two fantastic audio commentaries on this release as well. But what really makes this film stand out, or this Blu-ray release of this film stand out for me, is just the depth of what you're getting with this release. Because you not only get the Hong Kong theatrical version and uncut as well, and Mike Leader and Anna Venema were kind of remarking in their audio commentary on this release that when they saw it when it first came out, they don't remember it being anywhere near as violent and bloody and gory as it is in this uncut version. And there's severed hands and some pretty hairy stuff going on. So it's a pretty brutal film, and not at all like a lot of the Hong Kong action films I've seen so far, where there's a lot of action and stuff, and there's brutal kicks to the head and things, but there's not really a lot of blood and guts. And this one is, I mean, it's no Saw, but it's, for a Hong Kong action film, it definitely surprised me in terms of the pretty excessive violence. But it was, it felt very stylish in that, and well, I say stylish violence, but I don't know, it felt very graphic, I guess. I know it felt more like, you know, like one of those kind of the darker kind of comic books or graphic novels that you might read. And so I felt like it fit the story as well. And Jet Li plays this guy who can essentially feel no pain. He was part of this special program by the government. And so he's trying to live a normal life. But, just when he thought he was out, he gets pulled back in. And so, but he is operating as the Black Mask, this kind of vigilante character. And maybe some of that doesn't come together as much as it could. But I really love his relationship with Lau Ching-wan's character, who is like the Rock. He's this police detective who's become really good friends with Black Mask, whose character's name is Choi Chick, I believe. And he, is very much the pacifist. He refuses to be annoyed by anything or to fight. And so it's kind of heightening the alter ego to the superhero kind of persona that he inhabits as the Black Mask. And then Lau Ching-wan is kind of on this big case, and of course the two things converge, and that those characters are. I just like the kind of the buddy cop aspect that was there at times, and Frank Zhang pointed this out, and it actually rings even closer to buddy cop. That's probably a bit overstating it a little bit. But he likens it to Batman and Commissioner Gordon, and that kind of works a bit better, I think. If Commissioner Gordon was like in his prime as a police officer or a police detective, I think that comparison works a bit better. But I really like the actor Lau Ching-wan, so I didn't know that he was in this film, so I was really surprised to see him pop up. And I haven't even really scratched the surface in terms of the different versions of this film that are included on this release. This is a limited edition 2-disc set, so I'm sure once this sells out, it'll go to a single disc edition. On the first disc, you have two versions: the Hong Kong uncut version. I'll leave that for free. Then you have the US export version, I believe that's what it's called, or the international export version. And on the bonus disc, we have two other versions of the film, which is the Taiwan cut, which is a film that was prepared for release in Taiwan with extended footage, and then the extended cut, which is a version of the film that incorporates all the unique footage from all the various releases, so kind of like a Frankenstein extended cut. So I haven't checked out those two on the second disc yet. Listened to the commentaries, watched some of the extras, but I mean, this film is absolutely stacked, and from what I can tell, it's not just 4 versions of the film, it's actually 6, because with the international export version, you have 2 choices of dubs. That's why I thought it was the US export version. So you actually get the original English dub, which I believe is the UK version, and then there is the alternate US release English dub. So 2 different English dubs, so essentially 2 different versions of that export version of the film. And then there is an alternate Mandarin track with remix sound effects and music on which one would that be? On the Taiwan version. So, 6 different audio tracks, 4 different films, two audio commentaries, and not quite a partridge in a pear tree, but certainly everything but the kitchen sink thrown into this release. So I'm just very, for me, because I really enjoyed the film and know some people are mixed on it. I'm just glad that a film I really enjoyed has got kind of the deluxe treatment. The transfer is not great, I will say that, and the color grading of the film between the Hong Kong version and the export version are vastly different. And actually, the picture quality on the export version is quite a bit crisper than the Hong Kong cut, which is the one that I watched first. So you do get differences in quality, and from what I understand, the extended footage is not in high definition on the two bonus versions of the film. From what I haven't looked into it yet, so again, I really want to dive into this one because there's a lot to talk about, and I had an absolute blast. I really really enjoyed it, and I'm a Jet Li fan now. I think I just really like him, even though a lot of this stuff he's being doubled in some of the fight sequences, which shows you how much of a fan I've become of him, I guess, where it's not like I need to see him, on screen fighting all the time. I just like his performance as kind of heroic characters, I guess. But we'll get into all that in due course. So Black Mask, an absolutely stacked release, and I think that is one I'm really looking forward to getting back to, and kind of I might even just watch, because I wasn't going to watch all four versions of the film, but I might watch one of the two extra ones on disc 2. I think I might. So, I mean, you can see on the back there just how much you get on these two discs and the limited edition. These all come with booklets, of course. I'll get into that more with with the later videos. Finally, this will be quick because I haven't actually watched these films yet, but I have thrown in the 4K disc of this to check out the picture quality. I kind of scanned through both movies, and I also received review copies of the Blu-ray version. So I kind of checked back and forth and did like an A/B test. I should tell you what the films are. It is a double pack of Cynthia Rothrock in China O'Brien 1 and 2 from 1990 from Robert Clowes. I love the artwork on this, like the design of the sleeve, particularly this here, which that just screams 90s, And I would assume being released in 1990, this was probably made in 1989, but just scanning through the film, it just feels very 90s, and the denim, and the hairstyles. Now, I haven't watched these films. I was just looking, just out of interest to see what the 4K quality looked like. I thought this looked incredible, again, from the little I've seen, scanning through both films, and I checked the quality between the Blu-ray and the 4K, because this comes from 4K restorations from the original negatives, from what it says in the back of the Blu-ray here. Or does it? It doesn't, but it says on the website, 4K restorations from the original negatives on the Eureka website. I was expecting that the Blu-ray would look great and the 4K would look, almost imperceptibly different. It's just a higher bump in resolution and quality. But I have to say, looking at it close up and going back and forth between my 4K player and my PS5 with the Blu-ray, there just is that bigger leap. It's a leap forward in quality, and where some things, when you got close to the TV, are a little bit pixelated or whatever, on the 4K it is so crisp and the grain is there. And I just, in this day and age now, in 2024, where some of the biggest blockbusters ever made, like Aliens, and True Lies, these just classic films, absolutely classic films, Titanic even, they get 4K releases, and they're not true 4K releases. They're upscaled using AI technology where the computer guesses what detail it's going to put in, and there's a fake layer of artificial detail over the top of it, and it's just so disheartening. It's just so nice when companies like Eureka are putting out films like this, which, again, I haven't seen them, and I have heard they're not brilliant, but just the fact that any film is getting the proper restoration treatment that it deserves in 4K is just great. And I did look at the extras to see how substantial they were, and there's over 2.5 hours worth of extras. It's really, they've pushed the boat out on this one. On the inside, you get this nice original artwork, nice poster there. From what I read, actually, these were direct to video movies, actually. But I'm sure I'll learn all about that in the commentaries and whatnot. We have 3 commentaries in this release across both films. Both films are included on one 4K UHD disc. You get a poster of the original the poster artwork of the first film, along with the booklet. The Blu-ray release looks identical in terms of the packaging, but they have the films spread across both discs. There are 2 discs in the Blu-ray version, and they kind of divvy out the extras across both discs as well. But this one, I mean, they must have taken full advantage of the 4K disc with this one. Have both films and all the extras. But yeah, there's like 2.5 hours worth of extras. An interview with Cynthia Rothrock. There's what's the guy's name? I just seen him in something recently. I was like, oh, him. Where is it? It doesn't appear to be listed on the slipcover or the case on the inside here. Richard Norton, I believe, is his name. And there's like a 50-minute interview with him taken from a YouTube podcast, which I believe was recorded specifically for this release, because it opens with him saying, "Welcome to the Eureka release of China O'Brien 1 and 2." It's not listed on the back, unless I'm just like completely missing it somewhere. But there's an interview with Cynthia, there's an interview with Keith Cook, and yeah, who was an actor in the first film. So the Richard Norton one's like 50 minutes long, really, must be pretty damn extensive. And then there's a couple of interviews with some critics. There's trailers, and as I said, I counted it up, and it was like over 2.5 hours worth of video extras on this thing, along with 3 commentaries, both films in 4K. It's just so fucking cool to see even films like this, which maybe aren't the cinematic masterpieces, just getting the gold standard treatment in terms of video presentation, packaging, and extras. I'm really looking forward to diving into these. I love Cynthia Rothrock, and just the feel of what I saw, just looking at these beautiful landscapes and these great hairstyles and lots of denim, double denim going on in this. Some of the music choices, just was like, yeah, I'm really, really excited to check these 2 out and to give you my full thoughts down the line. But yeah, the 4K looks absolutely incredible. And that is it for this video. Just rounding up some recent Eureka releases, particularly the ones for April 2024. They keep killing it, man. And I love the selection there of action films. We talked about it before with the whole, are they releasing too much Hong Kong movies? For me, they're not. For me, I can't get enough because I'm loving these things. But to see something like Cat and the Canary come in there, the 4K of Passive Glory we just got recently, I just think they're really hitting a nice balance, and it was just really nice to see a good old-fashioned silent film. I really enjoyed the Jet Li Black Mask movie, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to China O'Brien, and there's more releases coming out that I'm really excited about. I just need to nail down the time to film my in-depth reviews, get all my thoughts collected and stuff, get my notes in order. But this felt all right with my kind of bunged up, condition at the moment. I could get through it, so I'm excited to get those fuller, in-depth reviews done as soon as I possibly can. Apologies if I've talked about that too much, but I did want to kind of, because these are all out like this week. China O'Brien's out next week at the posting of this video, so I want to get a video up to kind of let you know these 3 outstanding releases. Again, China O'Brien, I haven't seen the movies yet. They could be terrible, So I'm gonna reserve judgment on that. But I just think just seeing how many extras there are, how great the transfer looks at a glance, and I'm really I'm again buzzing to check those 2 films. I'll probably double bill them back to back. I think they were even shot back to back, and so I'll just kind of run through them all in one evening, and then get digging into the extras and stuff. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you picked up any of these and what your thoughts are on them. And I would highly, highly recommend the Cat and the Canary release. That's probably easily my favorite of the 3 that I talked about that I have seen. But the Cat and the Canary one, they've just done a stellar job with that, I think. And the 2 commentaries were so good, so interesting, so many great things to hear about. Because it's a whole different thing here, because we have a lot of Hong Kong releases, and a lot of that is from the past 30, 40 years. To go back to a 1927 film and hear all this information about people who were born in the 1800s and their backstories, it's a whole other different arena. And I love kind of diving back into that kind of era of cinema and hearing lots of cool stories of actors from Days Gone By and stuff. So I really, really enjoyed getting that silent cinema kick again after last year we had Pandora's Box, which was another great release. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.